Hi everyone, we're going to be making a nice chicken tikka masala today. We're going to be using a number of ingredients which I'll take you through first and foremost. So we've got one onion that's been chopped, that's a medium to large size onion. I've got a small pepper that's been chopped. Doesn't matter which colour, they're all the same in terms of taste. I add pepper because of the extra vitamins it gives. You don't have to add a pepper if you don't want to. And then over here I've got 1.5 tablespoons of cumin powder, 1.5 tablespoons of ground coriander. In here I've got 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder. I've got 1 tablespoon of paprika, and I've got 1 tablespoon of tandoori masala powder. In here, I've got 2 tablespoons of ginger and garlic paste. You can, of course, use fresh, but I use the paste out of ease. You're also going to need some sugar. So I'm going to be using some brown sugar, which I've got over here. I've also got some amchur powder, which is dried mango powder. The amchur powder is optional. I'm also going to be adding some coconut flour as well, which again is optional, but I find them to add a really nice dynamic and taste to it. I've got some tomato puree. We're going to need some of that. I've taken 1 can, so 400 ml of chopped tomatoes. I have blitzed that in a NutriBullet, or you can use a food processor, whatever's easier. You don't have to blitz it, but it makes a nice smoother paste. I've got a little bit of water in the kettle that's been boiled. We're probably going to need some of that later on as well. And we have some chili powder on the side. So towards the end of the cook, we're also going to add some salt for seasoning, some lemon juice, fenugreek leaves, and some garam masala. So guys, I've got a pan here. The heat is actually on, so the pan is hot. Probably a bit too hot, so I might take that off for a couple of minutes before adding the oil to it, otherwise it'll spit, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to just rearrange the kitchen, rearrange my angle on the camera, and then we're going to cook it. Now what I've actually done is I've already pre-made some chicken tikka. If you have a look on my YouTube channel, there are a few different videos on chicken tikka. So this is chicken tikka I've already made earlier. This was marinated for about a day and a half. It was cooked in my tandoor. You don't have to cook it in a tandoor, you can cook it in an oven. There is also another video to show you how to cook really nice chicken in a oven and to keep it nice and soft. So this is my chicken here. If I just open a piece, you can see that color in the chicken. So it's the marination does that, and really nice flavor. So we're going to add that into the curry later on, and that will complement the dish. So the oil's nice and hot, so first and foremost we're going to add the onions in. Be careful, it might spit a bit. So the onions want to cook for a good 5-6 minutes till they're nice and soft. Keep moving around. So once the onions are nicely done, we are going to add the ginger and garlic paste. We'll then add the peppers. We will add some spices. And the important part is you do not want to keep the spices too long on the pan, otherwise they'll burn. So spices on, give it a quick stir, and then we're going to put the tomato on top of that. So you're going to cook this for a good number of minutes. So we'll keep stirring that, and we'll come back in about 5 or 6 minutes. So a number of minutes have passed, and the onions are nice and brown. So next thing we're going to do is add in the ginger garlic paste. So put that in. So that's sizzling quite a bit, hopefully you can hear me. So there's some really nice aromas coming off of it. So we want to cook this for a minute or two until the aromas disappear. Yeah, the smell's just about gone. So once that smell is gone, the next thing I'm going to do is add our spices. But before I do that, I'm going to put some peppers in. As I said at the beginning, you don't have to put peppers in. I add them. Extra vitamins can do no harm. So once that's in, I'm going to put the spices in next. That's the coriander powder and the cumin. Then put in the turmeric, the tandoori masala powder, and I'm literally just going to turn this around. Let it all nicely catch, the pan's calm down. So we now need to add some liquid to this, and we don't want any of this to burn at the bottom, so I'm going to put in the tomato. Move that around, you don't want it too much to catch on the bottom. And already that's such a nice colour. Hopefully you can see that. You notice I'm using quite a large spoon to make this. Traditionally, it's how these pans are used. You don't have to use a really large spoon. You could use, you know, a silicone spatula. I'm a great fan of my silicone spatula, which I regularly use when it comes to cooking. I think I've got it somewhere here. There you go. This is nice and easy to use as well. So if you struggle with a big spoon, or if you don't have one, it doesn't really matter what you use. Let's put that to one side. So I've put the tomato in. Heat's still on medium. That's nicely calmed down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the temperature down of the gas. There we go. So next thing I'm going to do is add the tomato puree. Put in 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. There we go. And then we're going to mix all of that in together. Now, when you cook this dish, it's very likely that you'll get quite a lot of splatter in your kitchen, so it might be a good idea to put some foil paper down or have a really good splashback. Now, we are going to add some food colouring to this later on as well. So I've got a little bit of food colouring powder in here, just about, it's about 3/4 of a teaspoon. So I'm going to put some water in that to dilute it and then add that later on. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning, and I should have done really, was adding cream to it. So we are going to add some double cream to the dish. That gives it a really nice flavour. Some people prefer single. You can leave it out completely, but it really adds a nice dynamic to it. So that's nicely mixed up. I'm going to leave this for maybe 6-7 minutes on low heat. You'll see it catches on the sides. You want to grab all of that and mix it into the mixture. So this will reduce. Once it's reduced a little bit, I'm going to add some water to it to thin it up a little bit. And then we will add some chili powder. We'll put the chicken in and then continue to cook. So I'll be back in a few minutes, probably about 7-8 minutes, depending on how this gets on. So guys, as you can see, this is nicely reducing, but what I wanted to show you was when it gets to a position where there's not a lot of liquid at the bottom, you've got to be careful. You don't want the bottom of it to burn, so you've got to keep it moving. That's why I do prefer this sometimes, particularly at this point. So you see there, so I've just had a little taste of the masala actually, and it's tasting really nice, and there's lots and lots, you should have lots and lots of aromas coming out right now, and this is obviously the spices all being activated. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to add a little touch of water to this, which is from a kettle, just to give it some liquid back. And then see, that now looks nice and moist again. And that's not dry anymore, so that's exactly what I wanted. And I didn't put a lot of water in, just a little bit. So now that we've done that, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the chicken tikka in there. I'm going to add a little bit more water. I'm going to add some chili to it, and once we've done that, we'll then build it on from there. So I'm just going to add some chicken tikka to it. These bits are quite big, so I'm just going to make them a little bit smaller. I've probably got too much chicken tikka in this bowl for this dish. Got some nice charred bits on there as well, which was from the tandoor. So I'll put that in there. See the chicken nicely covered. That's probably enough. So I've probably put a good large handful of chicken in there. Obviously you can put less in if you want. You don't. So mix that all up so the chicken is nicely covered with the masala. I need to add some more water. It's starting to burn a little bit at the back. We don't want that. There you go, that's nicely covered. So we're going to add some more water. And don't worry about adding too much water if you have added too much water, because you can always just leave it on a low simmer and let the water disappear. So we've thinned it out nicely, and we'll just catch all of that sauce that was hanging on the side there. And that's a really nice consistency. See there, it's not runny. You don't want it too runny. If it's too runny, too much water, so just simmer it a little bit longer. So there's the chicken in there. It's still on a moderate heat, so I'm going to add some chili next. So around a good teaspoon of chili. So that's it. I'm going to give that a really good mix. And then I'm going to add our coconut flour. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons. This is completely optional. If you don't want to put it in, you don't have to, but I find it gives a really nice taste to the dish. So coconut flour. Unfortunately, you can't use coconut milk, and you can't use coconut essence. In addition to this, I will be adding some amchur powder in later on as well, and again that gives a really nice flavour to it. So I'm going to mix this all up. I can smell the coconut fragrance, smells really nice. I'm going to add some more water, and I'm going to let it simmer again. So that's all nicely mixed up. So you can see there, the liquid's just about disappeared. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. Probably all in all, I'll be adding about 300 to 350 mils of water throughout the dish. You could just whack all the water in one go, but I do mine in stages and build it up stage by stage, and I find that gives me the best flavours. So that's, to show you that, it's coming along really nicely. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to leave that just for a couple of minutes, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add probably a little bit more water. Once that's simmered down a little bit, we will then put in some food colouring. Now this is completely optional, so what I do is a little bit of food colouring in there, put a little bit of water, and give it a good old stir. So, see, there's a little bit at the bottom. There we go. You don't need a massive amount of food colouring to give it a good red colour. If you put too much in, it'll look radioactive. Now, purely for show, guys, not essential. The turmeric we added earlier gives that really nice colour, along with the paprika and the tandoori masala. That's why I've got this really nice, rich, brown, orange colour. So we're going to mix that up a little bit. Yeah, it smells really nice, guys, really nice. So, some more water. There we go, a lot more this time than previously. And a good mix, remembering we put the chilli in as well. And that's now looking more like it in terms of a nice curry. See that? That's what you want. Now we've got the bits on the side, don't forget about getting all of those out. So I'm just going to let that simmer for a couple of minutes. And I've just splattered my wall again with some curry, so it's definitely a messy dish to make. And leave that for a couple of minutes. We'll come back and we will add the final bits and pieces. Right, guys, so we're just going to put the food colouring in next. A little bit left in the glass, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water to it to grab that. Important that you use hot water with it rather than cold water. Pour that in, and there we go. So food colouring's in there. It should. I've not used a lot of food colouring, guys, so it'll go a reddish orange colour, but it won't be super red, and that's my intention. So you can see there, the colour's changed almost instantly. A couple more bits. So we've got got a tablespoon of sugar. We've got a heaped teaspoon of amchur powder, and I'm using brown sugar. And again, you don't have to add sugar, you don't have to add amchur powder, but I find that they give a nice little kick to it. Give it a good mix. And hopefully you can see that's looking really nice chicken tikka masala. Now when I add the cream in a little bit, that will lighten it a little bit, so I'm expecting it to change colour once the cream's gone in. So just a couple of minutes have passed. The curry's looking really nice at the moment. So I'm going to add some double cream to it. So this is a 150ml pot, and it's extremely unhealthy. So you do not want to be putting too much in there. But the more you put in, the better it's going to taste, of course. So we just put in a nice swirl like that. You can obviously put more in if you want. Might put a little splash in. So probably used about half, so about 70ml. So once that's in, you need to give it a good mix. I'm going to use the silicone spatula for that, actually, just so I can get in. Once I've mixed that in, the colour has lightened slightly. If it's too thick for your liking, don't worry, add a little bit of water to it if you want. And obviously every time I've added water so far, it's always been warm water from the kettle. So you see that? Looks really nice. So we're just going to finish off the dish with some seasoning, salt, and a few other bits and pieces. Now, put the cream in. I don't really want to keep that too long on there, otherwise it will spoil the cream. So we will get the fenugreek leaves. So I'm going to use about a teaspoon-ish. So we'll get a teaspoon. There we go. We're going to put a teaspoon of garam masala in. Some people add this toward the beginning. I like to put it in toward the end. Quite a heaped teaspoon. We want some nice flavours out of it. Some salt. Down to yourself, but I'm only going to put in about half a teaspoon because my chicken tikka recipe has quite a lot of salt in it anyways. If yours doesn't, you might want to add more salt. I might add a little bit more once I've fully tasted it. So the next thing to add is the lemon juice. Now I use lazy lemon juice in a container, so I'm going to put 1 tablespoon and a half in. So that complements the amchur powder, the mango powder, very nicely. And that's everything for the dish, guys. So we're going to give it a good mixture. And as I said, if you think it's too thick, you can add a little bit of water to it. And then to serve, guys, you can have it with rice, naan, roti, bread if you want. You can have it with chips or fries, whatever you fancy. Serve it with some chopped coriander on top or cilantro, just to give it a nice finishing off touch and some extra taste from the coriander. So that is one finished dish, guys. So I'll just show you that. There you go. I didn't say earlier is we only put a tablespoon of sugar in. If you like your chicken tikka masala sweet, you can add another tablespoon if you wish. And as I said earlier, I use brown sugar. So that's one completed dish, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to my channel. And of course, if you cook the dish, please reference the video channel. And hopefully you enjoyed the video.